Hi, good afternoon, Isabel. Luke, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for joining us on the Inspire and Connect set here. Let's kick off straight away. Luke, tell us a little bit about Amethyst and what you do as a fund.
Thank you. Amethyst is an entrepreneurial story. We created Amethyst 12 years ago now. Two guys, me and Laurent Demey, we were heading Proparco before the French GFI, and we realized that the core of the performances were coming from direct private equity in Africa, including in East Africa. So now, 12 years down the line, we are 50 people, 6 offices. We raised mostly private money from European entrepreneurs. We raised about 1.3 billion euro in that period, attracted $500 million of co-investors, and invested in more directly in more than 12 countries and indirectly in 34. And East Africa has been at the core of this growth.
Isabel, BPI's role, particularly, do you work with them in terms of funding them? It's mostly private equity, as you said, but BPI is not private. So how does the connection work between you guys?
Okay. In fact, I've been knowing Luc for a long time because I knew him when he was CEO of Proparco and Laurent too. So it was just not new when we decided to invest. We have created this activity more than 20 years ago because we wanted to invest in Africa to create links between African companies and French companies. And of course, to do that, we have to rely on the best teams on the ground, and we have to try to select the best teams. And so, of course, as I knew before Luc and Laurent, it was a very good beginning in the relationship between a fund and a fund. But finally, we have organized the same process as for everybody, of course. It's quite a long journey. We have, I think, they have to give us all the figures they can imagine. We go on the ground also with them to visit companies, etc., just to try to feel what are their relationships with the entrepreneurs. And what they can bring to them, because it's not only a question of I invest in a company, I bring them money, but it's also a question of what will be the value added of the fund for the African entrepreneurs.
Look, is it harder working with an organization like BPI France or as opposed to private individuals?
I said it this morning very, very transparently. I'm extremely impressed by the way BPI works, because BPI is a very big animal. It's one of the largest French state-owned banks. So when you had these three names, French, owned state, and bank, you kind of find, oh, it must be kind of bureaucratic. No, it's exactly the opposite. It's exactly the opposite. And it's not just Isabel and his team, it's all the bank works like that. So they are very professional, serious, they're very tough in their due deals. As Isabel said, they analyze all the companies of our portfolios, but they're very efficient, pragmatic, and quick.
And what kind of returns do you expect from the companies that you invest in? And is it, earlier on we've had other people say that they want controlling stakes, they want to take the controlling shareholding. How do you guys work? Is it just purely an investment and then you advise, or do you actually put your own people into those companies?
You have to be extremely value added, which means a little bit hands-on. If not, it would not work. If you look at Amethyst story, the core of what we do, and there is a good example in Kenya, which is Naivas, is to invest alongside family-owned groups, who very often, and it was the case for Naivas, opened for the first time their house, their company, to a foreign investors. So of course they hope to bring some value from that. And this is what we try, through partnership, we introduce them, and if you look just at the roadmap of what we did with Naivas, which is now the largest retail supermarket chain in Kenya, in less than 2.5 years, we doubled the company in nearly everything, from 50 stores to 90, from 5,000 people to 11,000 people, from 3.5 million clients per month to 7 million clients per month. a radical change. And we did that together. We had it also advice from abroad. And then this is very often why they ask us to come, is because we were kind of a relay race. You know, we pass the baton, and then they open with a better governance to a strategic partner, which arrive in Naivas. Clearly, they're married now with a Mauritian group in the same sector, and the Mukwa family now, for a very long time now, is going to work with the Lages family. So at the end of the day, it's always a human story. It's a people business. It's not, private equity is a people business. It's not lending. It's a question of people.
And exit strategy-wise, is there a time frame that you normally put on some of these companies that BPI wants to exit after 10 years, or you know, and they want, or is it 5 years, or is it just whenever the time is right?
They decide the time. They decide. We have no power. We just can tell them, yes, you need to do exits, because the fund has a specific duration, but they do what they can at the right moment for the company. So it's not just a decision like that. Of course, it's better when it's not too long, because the problem in this kind of industry is you have to make a mix between the impact you have on the company. So you need time to let her growing and to create jobs and to create value. But also you have to give back money to your investor, because if you want that your investor come again in the next funds, they have to be profitable on their investment. So it's just to see the right balance, and of course have the right opportunities and be able to seize them.
This question is probably the most essential one. If you look at the private equity industry at the world level, it's a race against time. And all the leverage buyout industry in the US and in France, basically people stay on average less than 5 years, 4 years, 4.3 years. They do that with leverage, which makes it much easier to have a return. And in the last decade, where in the north you had the interest rate at 0, plus a mechanical increase of the prices of the company, it was very easy in the north to have 20% returns on average per year. In Africa, you cannot do leverage. You're not going to borrow in shilling Kenyan for very high rates for 10 years. So you have to give the performances on the real terms, real hard value creation. And if you want to achieve good returns, you need to exit, like in Europe, relatively quickly. And when you do that, Naivas, we stayed less than 3 years to do all of that. And when you do that, it has a lot of implication, meaning that you have to design before entry all the things that you're going to do, 100-day plan. You have to follow them. And you have to prepare the exit very, very early. And from the impact point of view, very often people oppose the two things. It's exactly the opposite, you know. Anybody who has a house knows that after 2 years living in the house, if things you don't fix them for the 10 years. Same thing for a company or for impact. In your ESG plan, in your impact improvement, the things you will have not done during the first 2 years anyhow are the difficult ones to make after. So from both impact and financial yield, is good to try to do that, all of that quickly, and then pass the baton again to somebody else who is going to redo it again. Which is exactly what happened in the rest of the world in private equity.
Wonderful. Thank you. I told you the time will finish very quickly. I've got another number of questions, but thank you both very much for your time. Appreciate it, and continue to do all the wonderful work that you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.